skip ahead just a little bit, abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. So abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha. So you can hear nirodha repeats. So the way you get nirodha, the how, right, is through abhyasa, practice, right? You don't become heavyweight boxing champion of the world by sitting and talking about it, right? Even if you're a really good boxer, right? Same thing is true with jumping through. You don't learn to jump through by sitting there thinking, I want to jump through. I want to do it. It would be great if I could. It would be awesome. It would be so nice. In fact, I think this is how I do it. Let me visualize a little bit. I see myself jumping through. Did you practice today? No, I was too busy, right? You don't get there like that. Abhyasa is practice. The power of the mind can only be harnessed with practice, by applying the mind, by actually taking time to work through all of the methodology, to actually use whatever tradition is there. Now, a lot of the reason that the Yoga Sutra doesn't actually say this specifically constitutes your practice, do these 5 asanas or do this meditation technique, is because, again, at that time, there was a very strong reliance on Guru Parampara, the direct transmission of spiritual knowledge, the direct transmission of teachings direct to students from the teacher, so that the teaching itself could be modified. You know, very much in a similar manner as the Ashtanga yoga path does today, modifying, postures and sequences to tailor each individual student's needs. And this is something that Patanjali, took for granted to some degree. So a lot of people say, well, why aren't there, 25 postures when he says abhyasa? Why isn't there a diagram, a little stick figure in Padmasana position? Why is there not, specific breathing techniques written down? Well, again, the abhyasa was meant to be taught individually and then taken on as a personal devotional practice, right? Vairagyabhyam is often translated as non-attachment, right? That's one of these things where you're like, non-attachment. And when you have this kind of negative thing, you're like, okay, I should be non-attached. Okay, obviously I'm attached. So how do I divest myself of attachments and be non-attached? It's one of these words that is very hard to translate. Vairagyabhyam, vairagya is hard to translate, okay? So we have the idea of emptiness as well, coming from non-attachment. And the idea of vairagya has more a root in the understanding of emptiness, rather than it does is just sort of giving away all of your possessions, or this kind of apathetic detachment of like, it doesn't matter to me. That's not really non-attachment. That's just playing like you don't care, And there's a big difference between that. And we have the idea that vairagya is the true aspect of understanding the heart of existence, right? So we've read contemporary sort of pop physics that's, the world is not real, they're atoms circulating themselves, right? And there's the idea that when you experience that, not when you read about it, not when you see the diagram in your physics class and you're like, oh, there's atoms spinning around things. Okay, all right, okay. And then you carry on and you're like, oh, there's atoms spinning. And you put in your mind again in the manas. But until you get it, you experience it with the full aspect of your chitta directly, then you don't get it. We have it intellectually, but you don't get it. I don't get it. I haven't experienced atoms spiraling and stuff. I haven't seen my body on that level. And the idea is that until you get that realization, some aspect of the true nature of being is not there. And we have the idea when we hear this word emptiness, in the Buddhist tradition it's shunyata, vairagya, is very similar actually. We have the idea that this emptiness is void. But rather than being a void, the idea is that there's more resplendence underneath the layer of reality than we really understand. There's divinity hiding sort of just in the space between the molecules. And the idea is that with the direct experience of that level of reality, with the direct experience of the true nature of being, there can be no attachments, because you know definitively that nothing is real. So this type of non-attachment that knows that even if you leave this body today, it's okay, because the true nature of your soul has been revealed, and you know that it's a timeless, deathless experience that is far superior to any superficial reality that we may identify with. So this type of non-attachment, right? This type of knowing the direct components of what comprises being, what comprises the nature of life. And then we can understand that practice is meant to lead us to that experience. And it's only when we get that full experience do we have nirodha, that final inward spiraling that brings the citta to such a calm, imperturbable state that it's an unshakable peace. Right? So it takes a long time, which is actually what the next Yoga Sutra says. Satu dirga kala, nairantarya satkara sevito drudabhumihi. Satu dirga kala. Nairantarya satkara sevito drudabhumihi. Good. Dirga kala means literally a long time. Okay? Right? Dirga, long, kala, time. So when you think about a long time, what does that conjure in your mind? Like, what's a long time for you? If you were to try to learn the violin and you're like, I've been at this for a long time and I still suck. What would that be? A year? If you tried for a year and you had lessons every day, would you feel like, I've been doing this for a long time, right? Or would you say like 10 years? Is that a long time? You know, like studying to be a doctor. If anyone's a doctor, you think, man, medical school is a long time, you know, plus the residency and the whole situation. That was a long time. So 10 years. The time, Dirga Kala is not even that long. Dirga Kala is longer. Dirga Kala means you must commit yourself to this beyond your conception of time in a timeless fashion to the extent that you agree to embark on an eternal quest, to the extent that time no matter longers. So you say to yourself, Dirga Kala, I will stay at this no matter how long it takes, even if I experience 5% change within the Iron Age, right? Like the Stone Age. The Industrial Age, I had a good 5 births, and I got a little better, even if you were to be able to sort of speak in that term. So thousands of years, countless births, countless time spent on the path of yoga before you can expect to be grounded in the practice, before you can expect to see the result. Dirga Kala. Swami Satchidananda's Yoga Sutra, he tells a great story about this. It's a wonderful story to illustrate the idea of time and how actually if you surrender to the eternality of the journey, there can be quite instantaneous manifestation. So the idea is that there are three, I think there's 2 or 3 different practitioners, 2 different practitioners. And there's one very dedicated yogi, right? Extremely dedicated, sitting in lotus position 8 hours a day, intense breathing techniques, very strong asana practice. And then there's another devotional type of yogi, known as a bhakti yogi, and he's sort of dancing under a tree. And Krishna is coming by, and the yogi says, oh, it's Krishna. I'm going to ask when I'm attaining enlightenment. I'm working so hard, you know? And Krishna says, you're a very dedicated yogi. You work very hard. Maybe for you, next lifetime, you get the realization. And the reaction, anger. You know, God, I've been working for so long, so hard. This is awful. I can't believe it. And immediately falls from ground, right? And then, walking by the bhakti yogi dancing under the tree, says, oh, Krishna, since you're here, will you also tell me? Krishna says to this practitioner, can you see the tree that you're dancing under? Yes, I can see the tree. Can you count the leaves on the tree? Yes, I can count the leaves on the tree. And then Krishna says, as many leaves as are on the tree, as how many lives you have left until you attain the realization. And his reaction, at least it has an end. I can count them. At least it has an end. It's not eternal, right? And in that moment, Krishna says, you're ready now. You can come. And story is story, so we should be so lucky with that patience, right? So anyhow, you see Krishna coming by, you know, and he says a couple more lifetimes, thank you, I'm so happy. Thank you, right? Yeah. You have actually in that story too, you know, devotion to God, devotion to the teacher, right? Krishna manifesting almost as the teacher, and devotion aspect in that as well. So Dirga Kala is also being willing, to, you know, to surrender to the eternality of the journey and understand the devotional aspects of the practice in that same moment, being devoted to something over the course of however long it takes. Not that you're devoted to it while you're excited about it for the first couple of years of practice, right? Because we're all devoted when we're excited and we're inspired. But you stay devoted to it when it's boring and you're on that plateau. And you stay devoted to it when it's not fun anymore and you feel pain and you're tired. And you stay devoted to it through injury, through the course of your entire life with the notion that you may be lucky enough to uproot some of the negative patterns in the chitta and supplant those with positive ones, so that we can hope to experience a slightly more peaceful life before we die, to experience when we look back on and read the story of our life and sort of see the picture book of our life story, that we can see the progression towards more light, towards more love, towards more peace, not in the opposite direction, right? That's the idea with the tradition of yoga, okay? Satu dirga kala, nairantardiya. Nairantardiya means without break, right? So we have the idea that the yoga practice is something that we must take on as a lifestyle. Not something you do on your mat, right? You do it on your mat and you leave it there and you went, oh, I had a great practice. And you honk your horn and cut people off and, you know what I mean, and tell them off at every moment. The idea is, you do the practice. It's your lifestyle. You don't get a break from it. You don't get a break from it. To such a degree, you may go crazy and need to become vegetarian and change your diet and go to bed early and do all this weird stuff that now your friends are like, you're weird, And you're like, Nairantardiya, I practice yoga without break. So even if you're not able to perform your utmost asana practice, your deepest back bend that day, you're able to walk the path of yoga every moment of your life. So you're able to be that consistency. You're able to sort of work with your chitta every moment of your life. Nairantardiya. Sattara sevito means in all earnestness. Your heart must really be in it. You have to want it for the right reasons, which is very similar to that atta moment. You have to be fully committed at the level of your heart. It's not something that you can think about and you think it will bring you gain on an intellectual level. You can't think it will bring you worldly possessions or something like that. Your heart must be in it because the sincerity of your quest for peace must be real for you to achieve the results of the practice of yoga. Your heart must be in it. It must be earnest striving. You're not in it because it's fun, because it's entertaining, right? It's not entertainment for you. Yoga is not entertainment, though in some ways it almost looks like entertainment. It's a distraction on some level, but it's not at its core. Your motivation for coming is not to entertain yourself. Going to the movies is entertainment, right? Now, practice of yoga, when you come to yoga, the intention that you set cannot be to entertain yourself, to have fun, right? I don't have anything against fun. You go to the movies, you have fun. You go out dancing, you have fun. All different intentions, right? But you have the idea that the yoga practice is not entertainment. It's not a distraction. It's going to take you deeper into your stuff. It's going to be difficult at times. It's going to bring you face to face with pain and suffering sometimes. It's not going to give you a distraction from who you are. It's going to take you deeper into who you are, so that through the practice of purification, you can burn through your stock of negative samskaras, burn through them so that they no longer create your life unwittingly, right? So sort of a big task. And without that atta moment, you will lose your courage along the way. Without that moment that says, now I'm ready for this, you will find doubt, and doubt will steer your course rather than faith and determination, okay? Kind of a lot to take in when we think about, what did I sign on for? My doctor said I should get more flexibility because my back hurt, and now I'm committed to a 10,000-year journey. The funny thing is that I actually believe that those of us who find the practice of yoga, we were already doing it before. We find it in some fashion. We were spiritual practitioners before. And whatever we call yoga, meaning that unification with Purusha, the divine within, is a spiritual practice. So if we've already committed to it in the past, which is why we're here now, right? And we'll continue it in the future. And I believe that if we have our hearts set in that course, that will actually lead us steadily, steadfastly, calmly to that end conclusion.